right that which is wrong and to serve all mankind.
This is the Rob Dibble Show.
Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell in your afternoon drive. We appreciate this guy talking to us because he's just about to jump on a plane and go somewhere. Dan Dakich from Outkick.com. Woo! Doc, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Dibs, how are you? By the way, you knocked it out of the park yesterday on my afternoon show. I so much appreciated your perspective on on Pete Rose. That was great stuff. Thank you.
Now I want to turn it around and get your opinion on Pete Rose on my show. I mean, you grew up in the Midwest. You know everything about Pete Rose and the Reds and how much he made, an impression on a lot of youngsters back in the day. You know, what was it like when you heard the news that Pete had died?
You know, it was really sad to me, and I'm really pissed off because Jeff Passan of ESPN wrote an absolutely nonsensical, mealy-mouthed little, I'm not going to swear, article on Pete Rose. Guy dies, and here this jackass with the world's most punchable face, Jeff Passan, writes this article where he talks about the negative. Well, screw that. I went through that with my former head coach, Bob Knight. ESPN, when I was working there, asked me to be involved in his documentary. And I said, no, the dude's living his life. Leave him the hell alone. I knew the guy involved, the guy doing the documentary was a BS guy, just like Passan. And, I just hated that when I saw that. But for Pete Rose, look, I grew up a Cubs fan. But here's the deal. I got a black bat because that's what George Foster had. I sprinted to first base every game of my baseball career because that's what you did when you watched Pete Rose. We all dove head first with our arms out like that iconic picture. Dibs, I've always said this about Pete Rose. He's kind of like Mario Andretti. I'm driving down the highway right now in Indy. Actually, my wife is driving. And if somebody goes really fast, you go, what are you trying to do, be Mario Andretti? And that's the way people play. Man, you're playing baseball like Pete Rose. What do you think, you're Pete Rose? He was bigger. He was an umbrella over baseball at that time. And I got to meet him once. I thought I had met him. Then I remembered, wait a second, I did. He was with Johnny Bench in the locker room. And I was kind of awestruck. I didn't want to say anything stupid, And lastly, I think I told you, I saw him at a racetrack. And, man, you mentioned it. He was wearing a too-tight shirt with jewelry and these tight pants and, had a big old blonde with him. And I remember looking at him going, man, he looks like he's up to something. I like those.
He always
kind
was.
Of guys,
yeah, he was.
Yep.
Yeah, those are my kind of people. I don't like quiet people that don't bring nothing to the table. I want some action in my life, Dib. So I was really sad. And the picture you sent me was like, wow, I didn't know he was in a wheelchair. But anyway, I know you were much closer, but he and my old coach, Bobby Knight, is the same kind of deal, man. Shut the living hell up about stuff that they didn't do right in their life and celebrate who they are and what they gave back.
Dan Dibbs got into a lot of this yesterday, but we kind of kept a lot of the Hall of Fame talk away. And, this is, Dibbs always says, this is for the fans. This is the fans' game. The Hall's for the fans. In your perspective, if they did put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, just what would your thoughts be if they did it, after he'd passed away?
Well, better late than never. I was one of those that was like, yeah, I don't know. Every locker room has a sign that says don't bet on your sport or you're going to be banned. And then I came to the realization, screw that. Wrigley Field, the right field in the concourse is the big DraftKings bar, food area. It's massive. Every baseball game you watch, DraftKings is on behind. If so many people are making money off gambling. Yeah, I've always said this, man. I remember when you couldn't go to Las Vegas as a professional sports team, and now March Madness has not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 freaking conference tournaments for college kids. So I think it's all crap. It's all hypocritical. I would celebrate Pete Rose getting in. I think it would be chicken blank and cowardly to do it when they did it, but I think they were chicken blank and cowardly for not doing it when it was alive, particularly once they started taking all the money that gambling has provided, not only, professional sports teams, but individuals on those sports teams. So, I should have done it when he was here. I've certainly changed my tune on it. It's a museum. Tell the story if you want to. But damn, ain't nobody in the history. Let me put it this way: there's nobody going to tell me that dude isn't. There is no Hall of Fame if you don't have Pete Rose in it. He's one of the few dudes that him not being in it cheapens the institution. It doesn't make him any less of a player or a man.
Check out the Dan Dakich show on 1430 a.m. What do they call that? The local sports talk ticket or indie sports ticket? What is your show?
Yeah,
on?
Indie Sports Ticket. I'm on afternoons from noon to 3. I do mornings on Outkick.
There you go. And Ben does the QC Kinetic stuff too for us. So I mean, you guys are brothers.
Yeah. Well, Dan needs it a lot more than I do.
All right, I wanted to have you on though quickly, and I know you got to jump on a flight. You played for Bobby. I played for Pete. He was my first major league manager, and he taught me things, told me things, made me a better player, better person on and off the field. Obviously they have their faults. I look past that because I love him. He's family to me. Same thing, I'm sure, with Bobby Knight and you. It's kind of interesting because we got to see a different side. Does that matter when we're talking about these guys? Because we saw their softer, humble sides. A lot of people saw one side on the news, things like that. And that's something that I've had to kind of come to terms with today. It's like, okay, and my wife even said this. That's your opinion. Jeff Passan's got an opinion. There's a lot of people that have opinions. We know what they're like. But it'll never change the way we feel about Bobby Knight and Pete.
Yeah, well, Jeff Passan can kiss my ass with that article. I don't give a damn about his opinion. He can say he may be a friend of yours, and if so,
he's not. He is not. No, I didn't mean it like that.
With that, and he's got America's most punchable face. Never could play with himself, much less play any sport. But I'll get into what Coach Knight. Best thing I ever saw Bob Knight do. Best thing. I don't know if you remember this, but it was in the 80s. There was a kid, a little boy named Ryan White. Ryan White had AIDS. He got it through a blood transfusion. It was in Cicero, Indiana. It became a national story. Princess Di got involved. Well, he's from a little town here, and the town shunned him, and nobody knew what AIDS was. This is even before Magic Johnson. People thought, well, can I hug you? Can I touch you? Am I going to get this hated disease? And Bob Knight had Ryan White right behind our bench. And I'll never forget, Ryan White was coughing it, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know. Is this safe? You didn't know. Well, in public, in front of 18,000 people in Market Square Arena, it was called, he hugged Ryan White in front of all these people. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal now, but it was a massive deal then. He basically, Indianapolis, the city of Cicero, which is outside Indianapolis, and the world, kiss my backside. You know what? This is a little boy that needs our support. The best thing I ever saw him do, Dibs. And again, I can't. You probably remember. It was a time when you were scared to death to kiss a woman, thinking or shake hands, you might get AIDS. And Knight did that. You know what? Again, it's just like Pete Rose. So many people tell the story. You told the story of you living in Pete's house.
Yep.
I mean, you know what? There's so many of those things that Coach Knight did. And look, I don't get my morality from sports figures. I don't get my morality from politicians. I can go down the list of presidents having affairs. Hell, George W. Bush was a crackhead. Don't even get me started on Bill Clinton. My next-door neighbor is first cousins with the Clintons, and the stories of Bill Clinton are insane. So I don't want to hear morality or people tell me, well, this guy is so-and-so. I don't give a damn. I want to know what they do, what my relationship with Coach Knight was, what yours was with Pete Rose. We know a different side. So if a little punk ass like Jeff Passan wants to write an article, or some jackass named Robert Abbott wants to do a documentary years after the fact, I got two words for you: my ass.
One college basketball question before you go. Gonzaga to the Pac-12. Who's it better for, that new conference or the Zags?
Oh, man, I don't think it's any better for the Zags. They've run roughshod through the WCC, and you know what? They get a number 1 or number 2 seed, right? I mean, now that conference, look, if it was UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, I'd say great for the Zags, but they're smart. I've known Dan Munson, who started it, now Mark Few. I've known those guys a long time, and they're smart. They're not doing anything stupid. So I'm going to say it's a great thing for both. And I don't know if it's a great thing for college basketball, yes or no. I don't really know. But here's the deal. like I saw the article ESPN wrote. It said all sports, and I thought, wait a second, I've been to Gonzaga. I don't know where they're playing football at that place. It turns out it's not, but those guys at Gonzaga are pretty damn smart. But we always said they had the easiest thing ever because all they did, they were so far beyond everybody else in the WCC, and they played such a tough non-conference schedule. They get a 1 or 2 seed out of that league, and I don't know that the league they're going into is any better or worse, but they're smart. It's probably a good thing for both.
Doc, I got to step up my game next time I come on your show, man. You rocked it. That was awesome, dude. Have a safe flight, and I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you, sir.
You are and will always be awesome to me. Put this man in the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. I'm going to go scream it in the Indy airport.
You're the best. Thank you, Dan.
See you guys.
All right, take
Bye-bye.
care. Dan Dakich, everybody. Outkick.com in the morning, and then his show is on 12 to 3. Yeah, and in Indianapolis, I'm terrible at this. Indy Sports Ticket, 14:30 a.m. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, try to digest some of that stuff that Doc just said, and we'll continue on. It is playoff baseball in the afternoon, WNBA playoffs at night. We'll be right back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive on Fox Sports Radio.